Okay, welcome to We Are Cosmic Nature, the podcast. My name is Kelsey, and today we're going to talk about a very important astrological point in your chart. It is a asteroid, actually, and it holds quite a bit of weight in terms of our experience here on Earth. And that is Chiron. So this episode is two parts. I'm going to teach you just a little bit about Chiron right now. And then I recorded a conversation with my friend Ebony, who knows Chiron very well, has been on a healing journey. And we talk about our experience. Actually, it's a pretty just flowy convo. Uh, we talk about how Chiron has manifested in our life and what tools have supported us to move through the energy of Chiron. So this asteroid is, if I'm not mistaken, I believe it orbits kind of on a peculiar, well, elliptic. I think it moves past Pluto and then comes in towards Saturn or something like that. I could have looked up the specifics, but it was first discovered in 1970 or 77. And when it was discovered, it was in the sign of Taurus, which I go into in the episode a little bit. So what it represents, what its archetype is the wounded healer. So in our chart, everyone has Chiron in their chart. It'll be in anywhere from, Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, like all the things, all the signs. And it moves pretty slow, but it's where we feel insecure or ungrounded or wounded. It can be related to childhood. It can be related to past lives. But when you think about astrology through the lens of psychology and our experience as physical beings, as emotional beings on Earth, where do our wounds come from? Like, where does our sort of subconscious triggers come from? Really, it can come from those formative years of 0 to 7 before we really have our identity formulated. And I do believe, it's nature and nurture, it's your surroundings, but then you also have your soul, right? Which comes with its own sort of desires and plans, maybe, and maybe not knowing exactly how everything will manifest. But I do know, believe, trust that we choose the exact time and place of our birth, knowing who we're coming through, right? And what that could look like. I mean, there's every moment has a possibility of a different direction, right? So anyways, in terms of psychology and where do our wounds come from, this is why I think Chiron can be related to childhood, because we have a lot of experiences that are anywhere from maybe really, traumatic to absolutely neutral, but nonetheless, their energy, their essence, the emotion that we attribute to that experience still lies within our being, within our subconscious, right? So when we have things, especially when we're older, I mean, I think you could really play with Chiron when you're young, but you kind of have to know about it. I don't know that you have to know about it. I'm sure life would present itself with opportunities for healing and growth. But once you know your Chiron, it really is like, oh, that's true. Like, I am maybe triggered or I am sensitive in this area. So for example, often in readings, I find most of my readings, people have Chiron and Taurus, which I find really interesting. I actually don't have any planets in Taurus, and it's one of my favorite signs. So something's interesting there. But so if you have Chiron in Taurus, this can manifest as feeling ungrounded, not feeling worthy. Like, it really can be like lack of self-worth. Like, I don't have the resources or I don't have the talents to create or to do this thing that I want to do. Because Taurus is also about values. You have these values, these desires, and things that are important to you, but you're also, there's like this disconnect and you're not feeling worthy of moving toward them or experiencing them or bringing them into your life. It can also be wounds around money, because that is a resource really in our modern day society. So, you know, say you have Chiron in Gemini, you may have wounds around self-expression, being able to communicate, being able to connect with others, being able to feel like you can create friendships and relationships and really share your ideas. And so how can we move through that? How can we, once we know where our Chiron is and we know, so Chiron almost brings you into the, I say, shadow side of the sign that it's in, because it's like, it feels like a bit of a hole, like you can't fill this like void that you are experiencing with that particular sign. You also want to look at the house it's in. I always look at the houses because that's the area of your life that will be impacted. We kind of talk about that, me and Ebony, in the next part of this episode. But yeah, if you have Chiron in the 7th house, you might feel like you can't feel totally connected with your partner, or you feel like you can never do enough for your partner, or your partner never does enough for you. And not mean doing that we have to perform for each other, but you know, just there could be some sort of disconnect when it comes to your relationships. It could be friendships too. And so, okay, so once we've identified our Chiron, and once we sort of, I mean, most likely agree that, hey, yeah, I've been feeling this my whole life. And something that's helpful is when, if you're like, okay, maybe you don't have your chart, your astrology chart, or you don't know, but think about the things that are bothersome to you, that really make you feel, oh, like I can't, I'm insecure in that area. I'm not sure. Or the things that people do that really bother you. These are our triggers, right? This is like our exterior world is reflecting to us any sort of beliefs that aren't serving us, or insecurities that we have, and it's happening on the external. I recorded a video for Instagram. Actually, I haven't posted it yet, but what I realized recently when it comes to my Chiron is like, so there's a particular trait that's happening on the external. So someone's behaving in a certain way, and I recognize that it's in relationship to my Chiron. And you know, when we do self-analysis or psychoanalysis, perhaps maybe I'm one to, you know, do it too much, but I like to get to the root of things. But I'm thinking like, okay, what part of me is unhealed right now? What part of me maybe has this particular trait within me that maybe I should, you know, look at and integrate? But this particular trait I was really having a hard time with, because I was like, I really, really don't think I'm like that. Like, I really don't think I behave this way. It feels very out of character for me, and I find it just super triggering. So it's not always that maybe the person or the experience on the outside is something that you are and that you have to deal with. What I realized is, oh no, I actually just have a belief that I can be treated this way. Like I haven't set a boundary, or even known how to, you know, deal with this particular behavior, other than maybe the patterns that I adopted in childhood. So I'm like, oh, okay, I believe that it's okay to be treated this way, or I deserve this experience. So I really have kind of been sitting with that a little bit, and I'm like, this is totally a Chiron lesson, because Chiron is also like, when say we quote unquote heal something, we're stepping into empowerment, and we're stepping into knowing ourselves and accepting all of us and anchoring into our being. So it was just a nice lesson of like, oh, this is where maybe I can, speak up and speak my truth and set a boundary or resolve the situation in a way that's grounded and not reactive. So Chiron being called the wounded healer is about, okay, we have these wounds and we tend to them with our own love and compassion. And maybe it's not only giving yourself the love and the TLC you need to move through this. It could be seeking support from a therapist or whatever service provider can support you through that particular thing. It's a really vulnerable place of ourselves. It's a tender spot that we want to be gentle with, right? And what happens is we can tend to this situation or these wounds in a way that we may have actually needed it when we were in childhood. Like maybe these things are coming up and we didn't have the resources, the tools, the support to move through that thing. So now that we're conscious of it, we, tend to ourselves and seek support if you need it. And what happens is we become the healer because we acquire the skills, or we practice the skills. We give ourselves the love, and we keep that up as a self-love practice. And from there, because we have the wisdom and the experience of moving through a very maybe scary place or uncomfortable place to an empowered place, we now get to help others. So then you're the healer in that particular area. And it's not that like you can't heal others in another area, but it's through our own contrasting experience that we then get to help others. So we are the wounded healer. So that's Chiron. I hope that is helpful. It's definitely it's once once I realized, I'm like, oh yeah, that's me. And it's challenging to sort of break the habits of the past, and sort of change our behavior. I mean, you don't have to, but I can see how it's really only for the best to give ourselves that extra love and kindness in any area, but definitely in the area of Chiron. So enjoy this conversation with Ebony. She's an incredible healer herself. We kind of just started talking because right before we recorded, we were just going on and on. I'm like, we should probably just start recording. So I hope you enjoy our conversation. She shares, a bit about her journey, and if you feel called to connect with her website will be linked below. So hopefully you enjoy, and please share this with a friend who you think could benefit, and feel free to send me a message on Instagram or an email, letting me know how you felt and what you realized about yourself. And enjoy. We'll see you soon. Okay, so I have my wonderful friend Ebony to chat about Chiron. We were just sort of explaining our own personal experience with Chiron right now. So we're gonna record that.
Yeah,
So that's
100%.
what we're talking about. So
Absolutely.
welcome.
Thank you for having me. Can't wait to have a good little chat about Chiron. It's a good topic. A lot there to unpack.
Yeah. What is Chiron to you? How have you experienced Chiron, or maybe where is it in your chart?
It is in Virgo in the 5th house. And yeah, there's so much I could say. So much healing in those two areas, like Virgo and the 5th house. it couldn't be more accurate for me. When I like dived into it, would have been years and years ago now. I was just like blown away by how accurate it was like throughout my whole lifespan.
Mm-hmm.
um and particularly with Virgo, because I discovered all of this like for myself, like dived into astrology probably about like late 2017, 2018. I'd gone into it before, but just not really, just the surface.
Mm-hmm.
There's always more to learn. I'm still like, I feel like such a beginner. But like seeing Chiron in Virgo it was when I first got really unwell
Mm-hmm.
that I realized it was in Virgo, and I was like, oh, okay. So my healing is literally like my health
Yes.
and like all those things to do with Virgo. Perfectionism is a
Mm-hmm.
big one for me. I've had a lot of, things like body image and physical body related things. Yeah, overthinking and worrying and anxieties and mental energy, a lot of mental energy. And yeah, I was just blown away because I was like, oh yeah, this is like really what I was moving through, the
Mm-hmm.
mind and the body.
Mm-hmm.
And then the same kind of thing with the fifth house. I was like, yeah, I have a lot of fears and I'm moving through a lot of them, and I have moved through a lot of them, but around being seen and heard and all
Mm-hmm.
the Leo themes. I'm a Leo sun, but still
Mm-hmm.
a lot of stuff around like being afraid to be seen and heard, and done
Mm-hmm.
a lot of healing on that. It's very deep, lots of different factors.
Yeah.
Um, Around creativity and expressing myself and like heart energy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's been a big one. And just like not being in alignment with my joy and my heart and things like that. Because I kind of discovered all this when I started my nursing job as well. And I was like, oh, okay, Virgo, service, nursing makes a lot
Mm-hmm.
of sense. And then I was kind of like, it was just not an alignment for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized like, yeah, like my Chiron was Chiron was very apparent then. And I was like, this is not in alignment. And with, my joy, like it just wasn't in alignment with like my joy and my heart,
Yeah.
things like that. And
Yeah.
I'd like felt it, but I was just so out of alignment like with my intuition. And I was really coming from a place of like doing what I thought I had to do to
Mm-hmm.
be of service.
Mm.
Feels very it was very yeah, very out of alignment. So when I discovered everything in my chart, I was like, oh, that makes literal exact sense. So it was very relieving
Right.
to find in a way. Yeah.
Yes, I say that about astrology so much, and I find people when I give them readings, they say the same thing. What a relief. Like
Hmm.
there's nothing, wrong with me. It's all just been this like journey that my soul embarked on. So
Hmm.
I'll be sure to give Chiron a proper intro
Yes.
at the beginning of this episode, but it's
Yeah.
so easy to just dive right in. But just as an overview very quickly, so Chiron is the wounded healer in our chart, and it's where we have our wounds, like our inner wounds are buried. It can be very connected to the subconscious. It's where we're triggered. It's where we're insecure. It's where we don't feel like we can fully grasp that thing or become that thing or reach the highest expression of the sign it's in or the house it's in. It's like always out of reach. But
Mm.
as we like do the healing work, then uh we become sort of wise in that way, kind of like Saturn. Your lessons and your obstacles, you become wise and you can help others. So with Chiron, you can heal. And I have a similar experience of you, Ebony, because my Chiron is in Leo.
Hmm.
And yeah, that's a, that's it's amazing how much Leo energy is around me and how triggered
Yeah.
I can be by it sometimes.
Yeah.
Um, and then it's in the 11th house. So for me, that also, so the themes of Leo you shared are sort of fifth house themes around creativity and self-expression and being seen in your light. And I have that with the Leo. And then the 11th house is around, creating a solid community or finding that community that I really fit into. And also, I find it can transpire in terms of like goal setting and like making those breakthroughs. And because the 11th house can rule innovation and change.
Mhm.
So I find it always feels like the goals that I have are never really fully seen in their light. So, um, yeah, it's it's interesting. So, like all the other planets, Chiron moves around our chart, like around all the other signs, and it has quite a slow transit. Um, and for everyone right now, Chiron is currently in Aries. Um, how has that been for you? We looked up the dates before we recorded, so since
Mm.
2018. Chiron's been moving through
It's
Aries.
just it's just so interesting. Um, so that was just the timing. Um, because I mean, I can't really not talk about my health journey because like Chiron Virgo, it just really makes sense.
Yeah.
But when Chiron went into Aries in 2018, that was when I really became unwell. So the end of 2017, 2018. And that was really when I had to like I don't know, it's just a lot of Aries themes, like facing really what I was doing and not being in alignment and like
Hmm.
wanting my own freedom and to make decisions for myself and like independence and just
Mm.
all the like Aries things, like realizing I can't put it into words, but being like, even like I want to work for myself and I don't really want to, I don't know. It was difficult because I kind of stumbled upon this work and I didn't really even intend to work for myself, but I would have liked to, like it was there.
Yeah.
Um, but I just couldn't do what I was doing. And so Chiron and Aries really like pushed me to like go my own way. And
Yeah, that makes so much
yeah,
sense.
to get out of the environment I was in that wasn't serving me, like
Hmm.
knocked me out of that and yeah, into a completely different path. Like a
Hmm.
whole that was like 2018 was really a whole new cycle, literally in my
Yeah.
life. It's really
Interesting.
interesting when you like go back and reflect because I'm sure I like had thought about that before, but so long ago and it's like in reflection, yeah, it
Hmm.
makes so much sense. It's wild.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm curious, do you know if Chiron has any like aspects to certain planets in your chart?
Oh God, I can't remember any.
No, that's
Oh,
okay. I'm just curious because
yeah, there would be. Let me have a
because I'm thinking like how the powerful shift you felt as it moved into Aries. I mean, you
Mm,
know what? This is what I was going to say too. It could be because you're a Leo sun, and then all those fire elements also get aspected, right? So Chiron moves
mm,
into a fire sign, and that's making a pretty, it affects all the other fire signs.
yeah,
So it's been affecting your sun as well.
yeah. Sorry, I'm
So
just looking at my aspects.
yeah,
I'm just on one of my apps, so it's very basic.
yeah, no,
But
that's
like in
okay.
my natal chart, strong aspects, I've got my Saturn opposite Chiron.
Oh, interesting.
If you could unpack that
Interesting.
for me, that'd be great.
Well, I mean, so you have Saturn in Pisces.
Yes, yeah.
And we're going into Saturn and Pisces, which
Yes.
I'm so I mean, my
Yeah.
Saturn's in Aquarius, so I'm like,
You've
bring it
been
on,
through
let's
it.
move on through. But no, that's so interesting. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh. I feel like I just want to give you a full astrology reading right now.
literally. I
Oh,
want one.
oh my gosh. Okay, maybe we should stay focused
Focus.
on
Yeah,
Chiron.
absolutely.
But
Yeah, focus in,
um
focus in.
yeah, that's okay. So what house, you spoke about it before, but if
Yep.
you don't mind sharing like how you're experiencing Chiron now. So it's in Aries and it really shifted you to act and sort of be bold and courageous. But what
Mhm.
area of your life is it affecting?
So at the moment, it's in my 12th house. So Yeah. I just reflected on this and I really, yeah, I'm having so many cycles ending.
Mm.
It feels like a lot of more subtle, but I'm just really aware of them. So cycles ending, a lot of like uh, subconscious
Hmm.
healing, or I don't know, very like a lot coming up, a lot
Yeah.
of deep stuff, very 12th house kind of things. I've had just a lot of like things from the past coming up that I'm moving
Hmm.
through, and
Yeah.
a lot of ancestral healing
Mm.
and strengthening like intuition and just like releasing a lot. And yeah, cycles ending to do with like healing and having basically like new information in my life that's helping me move into a next cycle with my health, and just like called to step into new, roles in how I, work in the world, and all to do with like fifth
Hmm.
house things as well.
Hmm.
So it's been very interesting just to look and be like, oh, yeah, it really does feel like ending like cycles
Hmm.
ending,
Yeah.
and
And
yeah, it's
it's so
amazing.
helpful. Yeah, it's so helpful to know
Hmm.
Chiron, like, uh, it it if we're feeling triggered or sensitive about something, or there's just patterns, or like it really can take us deep, right? Like you said, you like subconscious things that you're
Yeah.
looking at and realizing. And I find the medicine of Chiron that when we want to move through these maybe discomforts within ourselves, is finding compassion, which
Hmm.
is sort of very Piscean, Neptunian 12th house. But like Chiron, like if we're feeling insecure and like raw and open and vulnerable, we want that like almost grounding, nurturing energy, and like, like you're supported. And how can we find that within ourselves? Like, how can we give ourselves our own love and compassion? Um, and especially that external world, uh reflecting all of our wounds right back to us. But it's like taking the ego aside a little bit and just like really getting to that soul deep level of just love for yourself.
Yeah, it's so
Yeah.
interesting you say that. Yeah, because I've really been focusing in on that, like coming back to self-compassion. I went through like a bit of a, not like a lack of self-love, but I just wasn't focusing on self-love, and I found I was like starting to go back into old patterns. I was
Mm.
starting to beat myself up a little bit. Like, I
Like
suppose like not
Virgo criticism.
not yeah, yeah. I was just being self-critical, as is a thing for me my whole
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
The wound that is healing. And yeah, I found myself like just the last few days like really focusing back on self-love and compassion. And like I had this conversation with someone, and we were talking about like self-love, and she was like talking about how um I was talking down to myself, and she's like, I know you love yourself, but like your actions sometimes are speaking they're showing a different story, because you're kind of like not very subtly, I would just be
Mm.
like, oh, that was a stupid thing to do at the time or think, or just things like that, that I was like, I didn't need to say that or think that, but I
Mm.
just, it's like stuff we all do, it's just
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
patterns we all fall back into, of like those little things, the human things. It's
Yeah.
really hard to release. And
Oh, for sure. It's totally habits of thought. Like it really is connected to the subconscious, which is, can sometimes we don't realize we're doing it until we catch ourselves doing it, right? And I'm sure so many people can relate to what you just shared. And one thing that I find helpful when it comes to, once you realize or find your chart and know where your Chiron is, yes, like study that sign deep, like look at its shadow sides. You probably do them, and look at the highest expression of that sign. And
Mhm.
I mean, I always aim to feel better and try to get out of the sort of heavier stuff. I want to have a pleasurable life experience, honoring the times that you don't feel so good. But something that I find helpful to complete my thought is looking at the opposite side sign of where your Chiron is, because that might help you, in my experience anyway, when I like channel for people too, it's like, let's look at the opposite sign, and yours is Pisces, where you have your Saturn is. So really this Virgo Pisces dynamic is so much what you're here to, learn and grow through in this life. But Pisces, if say your Chiron is in Virgo, I would also take it back to what I said before. Pisces is unconditional love and compassion and
Mm,
surrendering and connection to oneness and, receiving energy from your guides, like all that beautiful stuff. And I think for me too, with my Chiron and Leo, I think of Aquarius and I'm like, okay, Aquarius is so unique and doesn't, it's about breaking through like the boundaries that were before. And Aquarius is, stands out, and it's kind of weird in its own way too. So I'm like, okay, I got to embrace my weirdness and
yes.
find confidence, Leo, in the weirdness, you know?
Yes. Yeah, that's such a good way of putting it. I have thought about that before, but you like phrased it perfectly.
Mm,
Yeah, that is so true. That makes so
mhm.
much sense.
What tools have been helpful for you to move through your experience with Chiron? Because I think when people realize, oh, I've got, my Chiron's in Taurus. Most of the people I do readings for, their Chiron is in Taurus. So this is like safety and security and like finding self-worth and confidence and being resourceful and like, um, so if you have any like lack mindset and anyways, I won't go through all the signs right this second, but
Mm-mm.
what tools are helpful for you? Because I think some of them can be used no matter where your Chiron is.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's really interesting. Because one of the things I wrote down was like a lot of Pisces related things. Like I've been out of meditation. I haven't really been meditating. But yeah, just yesterday my mum was like, "You should meditate. You need to get back into your meditation." And I was like, "I really should," because that always really helps me. Like I go through phases, and I don't try not to be critical of myself when I'm
Hmm.
not in a meditation phase because I meditate in other ways, like
Hmm.
mindfulness and just being in nature and things like that. It doesn't have to be like, sitting down kind of meditation. But I really find that like helped me so much. Like I went through a phase a couple of years ago when I was in a really bad place with my health and I was meditating like 3 times a day. Like I
Wow.
was okay, like so into meditation. And it
Wow.
was so healing for me. And that's a big one because it's just like getting the Virgo mind to settle. I'm really prone to just the mind, the spirals, the anxiety spiral or the worry spiral, just the overthinking thing. And I find it really hard to like detach from that. Um, it's kind of hard to explain, but I've trained myself in a way, in a
Hmm.
positive way. I've been able to um kind of like guide myself to not to get out of the spirals, just to drop the
Yeah.
thought. And meditation was a big one for me, and self-love and self-compassion and all those things. And I wrote some other bits down, and just astrology in general has helped me through the Chiron things because it's how do I explain that? Yeah, it's really just like the thing that helped me through my Chiron and like the healing and all of those things is like understanding the heck out of it.
Yeah.
Um, like maybe it's just the Virgo like wanting I'm really wanting to understand it. Um, and yeah, going and I just had another thought. Hold on to the thought if I can hold on to it. Um, I'm gonna lose my train of thought, but yeah, understanding that my sign really
Mhm.
deeply, like that was very um soothing and like relieving. I said all those things before, but really like diving into what it means and how it plays out. and just also connecting with the fifth house with Leo, because that's big for me as well, like being a Leo sun, and
Mm,
connecting to my inner child, because I have like a very strong inner child, and
mhm,
just like creativity and just like finding my joy and just doing things that I love to do. That
mhm,
helps me get through.
mhm.
And I just the other thought before I lose my thought was that when we were talking about Chiron in Aries, I'm an Aries rising. So that is why this has been
Mm,
a big time for me. I just had
wow.
that thought. Yeah,
Mhm.
that just popped in. I was like, yeah, that makes sense why the last however many years I've really had to like
It's like
come
a
back to
rebirth.
Aries. Yeah, because I didn't really um feel like an Aries rising. Like, I don't know how to quite explain it, but I always felt like a Leo. But yeah, I've like come to realize I'm very much an Aries rising.
That's so fun though. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that you said that just even knowing your Chiron through astrology was like a big part of
Mm,
it, because then yeah, you realize, oh, it almost like helps the cognitive like mind identify all the things that you've been feeling and experiencing in your life.
yeah,
It like
absolutely.
it
Yeah.
lays it out. You're like, oh, well, now it kind of makes sense. Like it's like our brains just do like,
Yeah,
okay, I'm not crazy. Sweet. Um,
absolutely. Yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
yeah. And I love what you shared too, like of coming back to meditation.
Mm,
Um, I think, yeah, just being able to, I mean, it's like breathing, like it's just such a helpful tool
literally.
for us to just reset and come
Mm,
back to our being, because Chiron is a part of us. Like it's almost like the same way Scorpio, contains the shadows, and Saturn's all the lessons you learn. It's like, okay, well, Chiron's where we're really freaking sensitive and like not
yes. Hmm.
not moving through that energy so easily.
Yes, yes.
So yeah, just coming back to your center and finding that self-love.
Hmm.
I would agree too with my Chiron and Leo. The things that help me is creativity, and I used to paint all the time when I was a kid, and I know I need to get back into it, but what I do love to do is cooking. Like that for me is art and it's
Hmm.
meditation.
Yeah.
Like it's just the best. I need to connect more with that playfulness that's been lost for
Mm,
a long time. I mean, I'm fun, don't get me wrong, but like,
yeah.
but I definitely need to
Yeah.
like when people are like, "Oh, do you want to play this card game?" And I'm like, I just don't like, I just genuinely don't want to play. Or like if it's a sport, like, oh,
Yeah.
come,
No,
we're gonna play
I'm
beach
good.
volleyball. I'm like, don't really want to, but you guys enjoy. Like, so I
Oh my
need,
God, yeah.
so I'm always
Oh,
just like on the sidelines, just like, but I want to
mhm.
be by myself. Like, that's the thing.
That's the other thing, yeah.
Oh my
It's
God.
just, oh,
Oh,
how to balance it all, how to balance it all.
I don't know. I don't know. I think I'm moving through the 11th house stuff though. Okay. Like, just,
Yeah.
I'm doing my best working on my goals, and like,
Mm.
it's not easy. And then I got to find that confidence to really go for it.
Yes, yes,
And find
yes.
my, the right communities and that. But um I'm tangenting now, but the tools, like, so yeah, I think often when we talk about sort of self-care, self-love tools, whether we're talking about Chiron or not, they often end up being some pretty basic stuff, like
Yeah.
stuff that makes life simple. And
Mhm.
actually, I'll share this with you. I learned today that Chiron was discovered um while it was in the sign of Taurus,
Mhm.
which I think is significant, what sign it was first found in.
Mm.
Um, and I was just thinking about how, all these tools that help us to move through Chiron are simple, and Taurus is really about simplicity and like,
Yeah.
you know, experiencing the senses of life, and just the it's Venus energy. It's what feels good. So I think the
Yeah,
more we can really just feel good, keep it
absolutely.
simple.
Yeah. 'Cause like life can be very complicated,
Mhm.
um, as a human. And we need to simplify it. And that's so right because, and I think, yeah, with healing in general, and I think there's a lot of, not misinformation, but
Mm.
I think we forget that like a lot of the things we can do are easy and free. And
Yeah.
like, I don't know how to put it, but yeah, like we can forget how easy it can be. And because it's so simple, we can like almost dismiss things. At least I do. Sometimes I'll be like, I mean, how much do I really need to go outside right now? It doesn't because it's always there in a way, like,
Mm.
and then I kind of can dismiss it. I don't know what I'm getting at here, but the
No,
simple
yeah, we were
things
talking
are
about
really
just, yeah, keeping
powerful.
it simple. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's like the biggest over time consistently doing those things is really, really powerful.
Yeah.
Even just a couple of times to realign. And yeah, there's a lot of amazing tools, but a lot of them are really simple and we forget them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. I have this like list of all the sort of quote unquote healing modalities I've used.
Mhm.
I love lists. When I was a kid, I used to make lists of everything.
Yeah.
But I have a list of all the healing modalities and like things that I've really applied myself into to feel better. It's like personal development and
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
physical healing too.
Mm,
Um, but really, I can also see that, at the end of the day, coming back to the breath and nature and
mhm,
giving myself, healthy, nourishing food is
mhm,
really
mhm.
the baseline
Yeah,
when it
yeah,
comes to self-love and healing.
absolutely. All the other things are just like amazing bonuses, really.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Okay, I want to ask you this question because when we say, or perhaps it's in our Instagram handle at times, I'm a healer. I do
Mhm.
believe that um some people or many of us want to just step into that sort of role as a healer, and like that's what you do. But I also believe that we all are healers, and when
Yeah.
we look at our Chiron, we can see what our sort of greatest gifts for healing are.
Mhm.
So I'm curious, how have you found the healing side to serve
Mm,
others maybe
yeah.
of your Chiron?
So much I could say. Um, well, it's been interesting. I think there's so much, but really like a lot of it has been focusing like on my physical healing. I think it's made me really able to connect with other people like very
Mm,
deeply. Because I can like I connect I just tend to connect with a lot of people that have been through similar things or moving through chronic illness or mental illness and things like that. And like I just really understand, like and I
yeah.
know that we can all understand each other, but I just feel it like on a really deep level because you kind of it's one of those lived experience things. And I find it really as just like I don't know the word, but really supported me and just me being able to support other people, just like through understanding
Mm,
them. And because I know it's hard for a lot of people to understand, um, just because there's things that I've never been through that I couldn't understand because I've never been through them. And it's not
mm-hmm,
for a lack of like love and compassion. It's just one of
mm-hmm.
those things that kind of have to live. Um, so it's made me very, very understanding. It's made me very patient with myself and with other people,
Mm,
and just like holding space for people and like just understanding like how difficult it is and
mm-hmm.
just being able to see them and also getting into the Leo thing.
Yeah.
The more I see and hear myself, the more I'm like able to see and hear other people, and just I'm losing my train of thought, but I had something else I wanted to add.
No, well, I
Very
can
good.
I can totally understand what you're saying there. It's like, yeah, through your own um challenges with Chiron and those the areas that Virgo and sixth house and Leo and fifth house can represent. It's like,
Mm,
yeah, now you are that support for other people who have gone through similar experiences. And I
mm,
mean, I'm just really paraphrasing what you just said, but it's like you're bringing them, you're witnessing them in their
yeah.
light and in their struggle. And
Mm,
um that's such beautiful heart energy as well. I really connect Leo to the heart,
mhm.
and the fifth house too. So it's like really stepping into that beautiful love, and I'm sure the people on the receiving end are appreciating it entirely.
Yeah, I feel like yeah, I feel like in the work I do, like people really feel that, not just when I connect with people one on one or
Mm,
in a group environment, like I feel like people can feel that heart energy and that like that love from me. And
mhm,
like I've kind of taken on more leadership roles, and again, it's my Chiron and it is my sun sign, Leo, but it
mhm,
has been hard because I used to be quite a natural leader. Um, I kind of like lost that over time. I think I lost a lot of my confidence, and
mhm,
just like throughout my life, I kind of just like lost my natural state.
mhm,
Um, and I've kind of stepped back into that, and it's been really difficult, like stepping back into like leadership positions and just like holding space for like other people. That was kind of hard for me at first because it's like my sensitive point,
mhm.
my healing. But I think in doing that, I've had so many other people say like, you kind of not inspired me, that doesn't sound, but like kind of they
Yeah.
saw me and they were like, "Oh, I can do that too," kind of thing. Like
Mhm.
kind of just being what's the word? I'm just I connect with people like so quickly, so fully. Like
Mhm.
I just tell people my whole life story right away. And I expect them to tell me their whole life story kind of thing. Like if they're comfortable to, I'm really
Yeah.
open to that. I don't really do like the small talk thing. Um, not there's anything wrong with that, but I just go so deep so quick.
Yeah.
I feel like, yeah, I feel like people are like, oh, you're so like open with your story, and like
Mhm.
you just like pour your whole heart out. and
Mhm.
and that makes them feel free to like open their heart too. That's what I'm trying to
Yeah.
get at, I think.
No, it's perfect. I love it so much. Um, yeah, what a journey it is. It's interesting. I've been told a couple times that, well, not more than a couple times, that people really feel motivated when they're around me or talking to me, like I ignite like a fire in them. And it's funny that
Yeah.
my Chiron is in Leo and like,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that's part of how I can help heal,
Yeah,
but it's like
exactly.
I gotta also focus on my own fire and like really
Absolutely.
get
Yeah.
that going. Like I love
Yes.
amping other people up and like,
Yeah.
yes, you go,
Yeah.
like let's do
You
this.
do. Yeah.
And then I gotta like do it for myself.
Yeah.
So yeah, we can learn
That's
so much.
that's such an I don't want to go off topic, but that's such an interesting like point you make, because I can feel like so much like that too.
Mhm.
Like I can feel like, yeah, how do I explain it? Like I'm losing my train of thought. Like I don't even notice that I'm like sharing my whole heart, and like I don't even notice um sometimes, and then people are like, "Oh yeah, no, you bring that energy." And I'm like, "What?" Because I forget to like bring it to myself. Like I can make other people super confident, like I can pump them up. Like it's very like the whole fifth house thing. It's so interesting because I'm like, "You can do it. You're amazing." Like I really like make other people feel braver, but then I'm like, I've got to do that for me.
Mhm.
Sometimes I forget, and it's like is that the Chiron thing of we just like other people see it before we see it, and then we give it before we give it to ourselves kind of thing? It's
No,
interesting.
that's such a great point to bring up because yeah, it's almost like what do you do that makes other people feel good when they're around you? Like,
Yeah.
why do people love being in your energy? And then considering, do I give that to myself? And that's probably
Yeah.
exactly what your Chiron needs. It's like,
Mm.
we love to give and we love to help others. And, what is your way to really help other people? And then it's like, are you doing the opposite for yourself?
Yeah.
The wounded
Yeah.
healer. That's
Exactly.
Chiron.
Wow.
Well, is there any other little Chiron tidbits you wanted to share? Any tools or
Just
yeah.
looking, what did I write down? I was comparing it kind of to I don't know if I'm going to pronounce this right, but kintsugi, you know, the Japanese pottery, amazing. And it's like Japanese pottery, and it's like, I don't know if it's when it breaks or they break the pottery and then they put it back together with the gold.
Oh.
Have a Google. It's amazing. And basically this pottery, I mean, I don't know very much about it. Someone's probably going to be listening, like, what are you talking about? Um, and it's like the concept that when you put it back together with the gold, I've put something here. Where is it? I just found this on the internet, but treats breakage and repair as part of the history of an object rather than something to disguise. So it's like the concept of like making something stronger and more beautiful, like after it's broken, it's been put back together.
Mm.
And I think of this like in so many different ways all the time because it just reminded me of like how we can kind of like, I don't like the word broken, but like feel kind of broken down by Chiron sometimes. But like when we like move through it and like put it all back together, it's like this pottery that's kind of been put back together with this gold, and this gold is like this healing that we have, and this like that we others can see in us. You know what I mean? I don't know
I
how to explain what
do.
I'm trying to
No, I have
say.
the visual. I think I have heard of this before. Yeah,
Mm,
this plate or bowl or whatever's broken, but yeah,
mm.
all the gold is in between all the cracks, right? And it's
Yeah,
put
I'm
back
just reading
together.
that.
It's so much more beautiful that
Mm.
way. Like all these little pieces of ourselves that we think are insignificant really do come together in a beautiful
Yes.
masterpiece.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
and yeah, why not wrap it in gold?
Yeah, exactly.
No, but it's
I
like
just what
your
a
quote
thought.
unquote brokenness is gold. Like it's,
Hmm.
it's
Yeah,
got so much.
exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Oh, thank you for sharing. That's
That's okay.
perfect. Amazing. Okay, well, I'll wrap that up there. Thank you so much for the chat, and we'll have to have more because I know there's so much more
Yeah,
for us to
there's
talk
so much
about.
to unpack. No, it was great. I love chatting.
Okay, I hope you enjoyed that conversation. I do have to add in here the day that this podcast comes out. It's a full moon in Virgo. Saturn moves into Pisces for the next 3 years. Big deal. And another very interesting astrological aspect today is that Jupiter and Venus are coming together with Chiron today in Aries. And that's likely pretty rare to all be at the same degree. And what is actually so beautiful about this astrological aspect and the whole conversation that has been happening in this podcast episode is Jupiter is the planet of abundance and expansion and luck and opportunity and growth. And Venus is harmonizing. And those two coming together is absolutely the best thing. Like, if you could pick anything in astrology, you'd probably want Jupiter and Venus to be together. And then they're on Chiron. So this could manifest as many people feeling extra sensitive today, especially because it's a full moon and Saturn's moving into Pisces. So it could be extra sensitivity, but it's also a very healing energy. And I mean, for those two planets, which are so beneficial in nature, to come together on that Chiron moving through Aries. So we're all sort of healing aspects of ourself, like the identity, the self, because that's what Aries rules. That's where Chiron's moving through. So this energy of literally like self-love, like believing in yourself, tapping into your soul wisdom, recognizing your growth and evolution, connecting with others on this, so, so important. So give yourself that nice big hug today, extra hug, extra love, and just be mindful and just really take care of yourself today. You know, if you got to book a spa day or whatever means you can, do something that feels good to you. That's what this full moon message feels like. And I just think it's marvelous that I chose to put this podcast out today. Again, every time I pick a date, I look at the astrology, I'm like, oh yeah, that's perfect. So I hope you enjoyed this conversation. Thank you again, and happy full moon.